Welcome to your daily dose. My name is Robert, and I'm here with my pal Eric Aquino. And I see right away Gray Strong on the screen, which
Yes,
has to do with your company. Is that correct?
my foundation. Yes,
The foundation. So let's launch right into there. We met at the Parkinson's, the PMD Alliance All In Austin, Texas. However,
actually, we met in DC.
no, that's right. The All In DC, which led to this one. That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Um, well, and that's a good jumping off point you bring up because this was a much. I love the All In DC. It was great, but this
yeah,
one particularly intimate to me. And I got to meet on a deeper level yourself and
yes.
several other people. Talk to me about your experience at the All In. Let's go there. What
I
was
was.
your
It's
experience?
funny you say that because I was telling Clemmy that I did my networking was more not genuine, but more in depth and more fruitful this time than it was at DC. Although I felt like DC was a bigger, not necessarily better event, but definitely bigger, more livelier event. But this one was definitely like I've literally had meetings all this week and next week because of the all in Texas. So
That's
yes,
what I
I
felt too.
no, I was saying like if she like to when she did Q&As or to feedback to ask how would the networking was because some people were like, oh, the last one seemed better, but I was like, it seemed better, but my networking was hell of a lot stronger this time than it was last time.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, the scope of the event was certainly smaller, and in all aspects. But that doesn't necessarily mean better or worse, like you say.
No,
I know. I mean, that was my first all in 2022, and we were coming right out of COVID, right? So
yeah,
that attached to it as well. And I know for me, I was just finishing up my PhD, so for all those personal reasons, it was different. One thing that struck me, and I wanted to get your take on this, I love, and I just presented on this yesterday in a wrap up to some of the support group leaders with PMD Alliance, the notion of rebranding Parkinson's. That was one of the big things that
yes.
talk to me about what that means to you, that idea.
I, Rebranding Parkinson's is like Jimmy Choi said it, normalizing, putting a face to it and making it real. Like because right now it's not real in a sense because they don't know much about it and it's old person's disease. And it's like that or women don't get it as much as men. There's a bunch of stereotypes that come around with it, and it's like no, it's a real thing. It's growing. There's an importance to it, and there needs to be attention given to it. But until we rebrand it and make it normalize it, just like cancer, cardiac stroke, all that is normalized and people talk about it. That's what needs to happen with Parkinson's. It needs to be talked about.
Yeah, I agree because you're right. An idea of pity surrounding Parkinson's, and as the old white man, you go, "Oh, that's too bad. My grandpa's got that, and well, something was going to get him. It's too bad it was
Yeah.
that." You are a relatively young black man, and tell us your story. When were you diagnosed, and
So I was diagnosed in 2018, 2 weeks after my 40th birthday, a year and a half after my first motor symptoms started.
okay.
And I was having trouble. Actually, it's funny and ironic. I was having trouble in my shoulder, and I thought it was a stiff shoulder. We were doing the physical therapy, and I was doing the exercise where you put the towel and you slide your wall, the hand on the wall, and every time I slide up and stop to hold it, my leg would tremor. So I'd look down and it would stop.
Uh-huh.
Or I was brushing my teeth and my leg would tremor. I'd look down and it would stop. And that happened on for like 6 months. I told the physical therapist, she's like, keep an eye on it. Well, and if it gets worse or something happens, go see the doctor. One day I was sitting on the couch and I was doing something and my hand started doing this. And the minute it did this, my like literally big flash, my grandmother on the couch, fussing with the glasses, I was just like, I got Parkinson's.
Wow.
And then from that point, it took me a year and a half to get diagnosed.
So let's focus in on just that feeling that you know with certainty for yourself. I have Parkinson's. What happens in that moment? I mean, what do you feel? What do you think?
Just the it was almost almost what's the term? Almost like sad, but heartfelt at the same time, because all I remember was my grandmother and the times that I spent with her and all the because coming from a Hispanic culture, we took care of my grandmother. We didn't put her in a nursing home, so we it was one day that we came home. They're like, your grandmother has dementia, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's, and this is what we're gonna do. And we did it. Like, I'd come home and change diapers and feed her during the week, and we'd take turns on the weekends. So it was kind of that mixed feelings. But I'm
Yeah,
also the type that I wasn't going to dwell on it until I actually got the diagnosis.
right.
So I didn't think about it. I just went about my business. Went to the doctor when I finally realized that she thought it was fasciculation, where I was an EMT working 3 jobs, working crazy hours. She's like, you're not getting enough rest. She put me on the generic Flexerol, and oh, kicked my butt. Like, I was, there was one point where I got to work, and my partner, my coworker, the safety specialist, she's like, "Are you drunk?" I'm like, "Honest to God, I am not drunk. I'm on this muscle relaxant at night. Like, it's kicking my butt." Like, and she says she was an EMT, so it's like she knew, so she starts laughing. I
Yeah,
call the doctor, and I'm like, "Hey doc, like, you said you were gonna send me to a neurologist. Like, this medication is not working. It's just I'm just groggy all day." So she sends me to a neurologist. Now, at this time, I have no idea what movement disorder specialist is. Never heard the term, even despite having my grandmother diagnosed with it. Had never heard the term. My primary had the foresight to send me to an MDS, but didn't tell me. So I call up. I'm like, "Hey, I'm calling to make an appointment." And now it's February of 2017. They're like, "Oh, our next appointment is September." I'm like, "It is March." She goes, "Yeah, it's still don't have anything till October." I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "Are you gonna take it?" I'm like, "I got no choice." Hung up, picked up the phone again, called the neighboring hospital. I'm like, "Hey, I need an appointment with a neurologist, blah blah blah." They're like, "July 1st." I'm like, "What the?" I'm like, "Well, July 1st is better than October." So I took the appointment, went about my business, come to the appointment. He walks in with a stack of papers, doesn't even come in 4 feet into the room, stops and goes, "You're too young to have Parkinson's, but if I was a betting man, I'd bet you have Parkinson's." I'm like, off the bat, I was like, this guy's a knucklehead. Like, off the bat,
yeah.
he,
So yeah, time out on that because wait a minute, we got to cut to come to the next episode, but I just want to hit that moment of this was your neurologist or the movement disorder specialist saying you're too young.
this was the neurologist who I happened to find out was a movement disorder specialist.
Okay, we're going to come back. We're going to pick this up. I just wanted to clarify that point.
Yeah.
There's more, a lot more to the story, which I look forward to getting. We'll see you on the next dose.